All right, good afternoon, everyone. While everyone's kind of filing in, I'm just going to go ahead and take a page from Gary's book, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you a really quick question, Janelle, just to break the ice. Since we do have Christmas kind of creeping up right around the corner, I just wanted to ask you if you had any like fun family Christmas traditions, like just specifically for your family that you guys
Yeah.
love to do.
Yes. I live in Florida. One of the things that we do that's a lot of fun is we put up a couple of Christmas trees, but one of them is a palm tree and it has flamingos all over it. It's decorated in
So
Christmas
cute.
flamingos. So that's kind of fun. And then we also like to go to the botanical gardens locally, which is, it's nice to be able to walk around and see all the lights and the decorations. So those are kind of the things that I really look forward to.
That's so fun. I think I might start doing that here just because it's hot here too.
You should. Palm trees are awesome.
Yeah, and they're native here, so
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, so just to keep things going, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's session of Marketing Talks. My name is Cheska Cordero from Insightful Accountant, and I will be your host for today. We'll be uncovering the secrets of successful marketing for accounting firms of all sizes. In this session, we'll be going over identifying your ideal clients with the lovely Janelle Sykora of Cajabra Marketing for Accountants. I will have her introduce herself in a bit after I cover a few of the housekeeping items, which are there's actually no CPE for this as it's just a 30-minute webinar. And if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A panel. And I want you guys to be specific. Don't just say, what did you mean? You got to tell us, what did you mean by you put flamingos on palm trees? Mainly because Janelle might not get to your question right after you put them in there. And I will actually be sending you a link to the recording, and it's also going to be up on our YouTube page within about 24 hours. And I'll also be putting that link in of our YouTube page into our chat, as well as the copy of the slide deck. And I will be rolling out those links and the copy of the slide deck throughout the webinar in case you might have missed it. And with that, Janelle, that's it for me. You have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Cheska. This is a lot of fun to be here. So today we're talking about identifying ideal clients. If you do have questions, please feel free to ask. I'll take a pause every couple of minutes and I'll go in and check and answer any questions that you've got. I have a lot of material to cover. So I hope it doesn't feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, but what I do want you to walk away from this session with is at least one actionable item. So my goal here is for you to get a lot of value out of it, even if you have to go back and watch it a second time. So let's get started. With that, I want to put just a quick plug in for the Future Forward event coming up December 5th and 6th. I think Cheska put this in the chat. If you have not yet signed up for it, please do. We are thrilled to be able to be one of the sponsors of this amazing event. I'm not going to give you a sales pitch on Cajabra at all. That's not what I'm doing today. But you'll see this slide and you'll see an opportunity to win a free comprehensive marketing assessment during that event. So be sure and register if you are not already. Okay, so let's talk about identifying your ideal clients. I'll tell you, I work exclusively with accounting firms and bookkeeping firms. And I find that this is sort of a hard exercise because you guys are problem solvers and you form these really fantastic bonds and emotional connections with a lot of your clients. That's a good thing. So when we talk about your ideal client, you might think, why bother? Well, you know what? Let's face it, everyone starts their business at some point, and most of us, when we start our businesses, we start by taking anyone who walks through the door. Sometimes anyone who has a pulse, just depends on where you are, right? And so eventually you have this book of clients, some of which are a lot of fun and super rewarding to work with if you're an accountant, but others who may not be as fun. They may not be profitable. They might be sucking up a lot of your time. And you might have some clients who think nothing of shooting an email out saying, hey, just a quick question, which then sends you off researching for the next 30 minutes. And it's oftentimes those clients that expect that you're going to do that at no charge because they pay you to do their tax return. And we know that's not how it should work when you're a valued expert with a lot of knowledge. So what I want to talk about is three different ways that we are going to break down finding your ideal client. We're going to talk about the why behind it. And then we're going to talk about how to do it in 6 steps. And then we're going to talk about what the heck do you do with it? Now that I know who my ideal client is, what does that mean? What do I do with it? All right. So I think we will move on to the next slide at this point and talk about the why behind it. So it is important to not just be that we work with anybody type of a firm. And there are a lot of reasons for identifying that ideal client. And I listed out 7-ish of them here, but mainly if we start with specialization and expertise, when you identify who you want to do business with, like your perfect clients, then you find that you're able to specialize in certain industries, maybe certain client types. And having that specialization allows you to develop deeper expertise, which, then leads to higher quality service, better client outcomes, and definitely higher profit. But then also, let's talk about efficiency for a minute, because who can't use a little bit more efficiency in your firm? There's just not enough hours in the day, no matter how many people you hire. So if you take the time to go through the exercise of identifying your ideal clients, that's going to allow you to tailor your marketing and sales efforts. And it's going to empower you to focus and create targeted marketing campaigns and sales strategies, ones that specifically resonate with that client profile. You're not doing what we used to call in sales spray and pray. You're not just putting things out there and hoping somebody grabs on. You're coming up with more targeted campaigns to put out there. And that leads to a lot higher of a return on investment. But the other thing is, when you know your clients and you understand who you're serving, your relationships are going to be stronger. They're going to be stickier. When people feel like you get them and you can anticipate their needs and that you know them almost as well as they know themselves, they're not going to leave you. And that relationship is going to be that much stickier, which is what you want, right? And then, of course, let's talk about optimization of your service offerings, because when you really understand the specific needs of the clients that you're serving, once you've identified who you want to serve, you can tailor your services more effectively. You can create packages and groups of services that directly address the needs of these clients that you've identified. And then, of course, a little bit along the lines of efficiency, we've got resource allocation. This is a big one, though. Think about it. If you didn't have to waste any more time and effort and money on clients that don't make sense for your business, if you were able to kind of take the reins and choose who you want to do business with, you're going to be able to allocate your resources that much more effectively. And then the last couple, brand positioning. Now, if you were in last month's marketing talks, I talked a lot about what is a brand, where you get started. And essentially, this is a very important part of your brand, identifying your clients, because specializing in serving a particular type of client really helps you build a brand and a reputation in that niche or in that service area. And it will make you a lot more attractive to potential clients. We're going to get into how that works. And it will help set you apart. And then finally, when you're doing business with the clients that you want to do business with, it really does help for long-term sustainable growth. And what I mean by that is, think about it. If you've got satisfied clients that you're getting results for, that really like you, you're resonating with them, they are going to be more likely to refer people like them than to refer people that maybe aren't the best referrals in the world. So from an overall business perspective, it is very important to take the reins of your business and choose who your ideal clients are. From a dollars and cents perspective, it just makes sense because you can be more efficient and allocate your resources effectively. So let's talk a little bit about red ocean versus blue ocean. Then we're going to get into exactly the steps in identifying your ideal clients. You may or may not have heard of these terms before. So in marketing, a red ocean represents an oversaturated, super competitive space where businesses are really kind of vying for all the same customers. Whereas a blue ocean, on the opposite end of the extreme, is more of an untapped market space. There will still be competition, but it will be less. So a red ocean is going to be full of commodities, where the profit is lower and the competition is fierce, and essentially it's a race to zero. So examples of some of the services in this industry that you might find in a red ocean are things like just straight vanilla tax prep. I think of going into like your tax prep shop, H&R Block as an example. It's more commoditized when you're just preparing tax returns. Or payroll services. When you're doing something just very generic like that, it can tend to be more commoditized because it doesn't have any specialization or additional services packaged around them. But a blue ocean, on the other hand, is much more appealing place to live. If you're an accountant, if you're a bookkeeper, if you own a firm, because there's less competition and you have an opportunity to be more unique, create more specialized offerings. And the more specialized you are, the higher the price and the value. So an example of this might be, I put it up here on the screen. If you think about your family practice doctor, they know a whole lot or they know a limited amount about a lot of things. But your family practice person isn't going to do brain surgery or heart surgery, right? That's going to be a cardiologist or a neurologist. They're more specialized. They're more profitable. Obviously, they command a higher rate. So that's the difference between a red ocean and a blue ocean. A lot of times that comes down to really being able to get granular and identify who you're serving, identifying your ideal clients. So now that you've been able to choose your ocean, and I would guess that every single one of you have chosen the blue ocean, let's talk through who your ideal clients are and how to dial that in. But before we do, I'm just going to double check here and see if there are any specific questions. Okay. Handouts, yes, handouts will be available. Okay, great. Let's keep moving. Okay. Oops. Okay. All right, so let's keep moving forward. Let's talk about identifying your avatar. There are essentially, it can be broken down into about 6 steps, the first 3 of which we're going to talk about on this slide. First, let's find out if you have a niche. I work with a lot of firms that say, you know what, our niche is we sell to all business owners. But I challenge you because that's not always the case. First, what I want you to think of is think of your favorite client, the one that you enjoy serving the most, whether you're on Zoom with them or whether they come into your office, the one that you feel like that you can get the best results for. And then I want you to also think of your existing client base and make a list. I want you to make a list of every past and present client that you've enjoyed working with. And then once you've got that list of them, go back and think about, well, why? Why did you like them? What was it that you enjoyed? Was it a service that you provided? Was it a certain personality? Was it a certain stage in their business? What is it, a certain business type? And then you can compare what do these things have, what all these clients have in common. This is where you start. And you might discover, in fact, I would bet you probably do discover that you have at least 2 or more clients in the same industry niche that you enjoy serving. And if you're serving multiple clients in that same industry, then guess what? You have expertise in that business, in that specific type of business, and expertise is valuable. People pay for that. It's really true that riches are in the niches. Not to say that you have to go and change your firm into some niche business, but it is definitely an opportunity to focus your marketing efforts. Remember that the more general you are, the more competition you are, and the redder the ocean is. Okay, back to that last slide. And also think of it this way. Every single one of your clients, whether they're a business, whether they're an individual, everyone thinks that their business or their situation is unique. So if you can demonstrate that you understand their specific challenges, you're worth way more as a high value expert. So the next thing to consider is to define your avatar. So avatar is just another fancy word. I'm sure you've heard it, but it's your ideal client, right? It's your perfect client on a sort of personal level. So we're going to get a little personal here. And with your pen and paper, or if you've got an open Google Doc at some point, whether you're doing this now or whether you go back and go through this, this is a very extremely important part of this process. And it's often overlooked. And we're going to go deeper into this on the next slide, by the way. But what I want you to pay attention to and list is the demographic details, geography, if that's applicable, Sometimes people just want to stay in their hometown, in their home state. Others feel like there's really no limits and they can serve clients all over the country. That's fine. But think through all of this, the false solutions, values, fears, achievements. When I say false solutions here, this is something else I want you to think about. This is essentially what your ideal client, your perfect prospect has tried. They thought it would solve a problem, but it didn't. Or maybe there are some expensive alternatives out there to you that you can save them from. So those are the types of things that you want to be thinking through as you define sort of the personal side of your avatar. And again, we're going to get into this in a little bit more depth here in a few minutes. But once that piece is done, then you can move on to define your target market. Okay, so this is by considering things like, well, do I want to focus on a niche? I had no idea that maybe I have 3 veterinarians that I'm getting great results for. Maybe I want to put some more focus there. Maybe you focus on considering things like company size or the growth stage that they're in or industry. But there might be a specific service or a group of services that you want to specialize in or package together as you really start to identify who this perfect prospect is that you want to serve. Okay. I'm going to take a second and dig a little deeper into your avatar's head in order to really define them. And I want you to be able to do this. The very end of this today, I'm going to have a wrap-up slide and it's going to have some action items on it for you. But I want to show you why you should go a little deeper into your avatar's head. It's extremely important. Whoops, let me move that over there. Okay, sorry. I had that the chat panel popping up. It's extremely important to I like to call it flip the script, but your messaging and your words, your website, everything needs to be viewed through the lens of the client. So in order to do that, and in order to identify who that perfect person is, you have to really go deep and you have to understand what the problems are specifically in the pain points of your client. People are innately wired to want to solve their problems. It's kind of like that primal fight or flight. We all are motivated to solve a problem if we have it. If we're sick, we take medicine for it, right? If we have any sort of problem in life, we're really personally and selfishly motivated to solve that problem. So as business owners and accountants, you've got to understand and be able to identify that your clients have problems and that is a high priority for them to solve them. They don't feel good. You can be the person who makes that better. So start with what the primary problem is that your perfect prospect has as it relates to your services. And then also think about the emotions and list out the emotions that are attached to that. How does it make them feel? And then don't stop there. Don't stop with, well, they just want to save money on taxes. That's not good enough. Go deeper than that. What is their biggest fear? What are some other pressing concerns that they have? List everything out, brainstorm it out, and then think about it from your perspective. Well, why is that wrong? In other words, why do you do what you do to help them, right? Why is that just something that you want to fix? And now let's flip over to their success. Once you've got their fears and their problems kind of front of mind and you understand that, we also need to look at what success looks like. You need to know what their goals are. What do they want? What does success look like for clients? And what does that customer journey look like to them? In other words, how are you going to help them get from where they are today with a problem to achieving whatever success looks like for them? Now, understanding all of these things is extremely important because it allows you to position your firm as a guide. That's your role. Your role is really to get clients from where they are, as I mentioned a second ago, to where they want to be. You have to be able to demonstrate empathy, show them that you get it, you understand their problems, you understand, show them how you empathize, and then show them why you are that expert that they need to solve their problems. Think about it this way. Instead of, I often see firms say, well, we're advisory firms, or we've been in business for 31 years. It's all we. Think about it this way. What does what you do and what you know actually mean to your ideal client? right? So think about that into what does this really mean? Take away all the tech talk and talk about what your expertise can actually mean for somebody. Okay. Okay. So we're going to back out of the weeds and we're going to go into the other three key components of identifying your ideal clients. So now that you've crafted your ideal avatar, if you will, you're not done. These three steps are also very important. I always recommend to firms that when you're going through the exercise of identifying who your ideal clients are, don't forget who your favorite current clients are. It is not a bad thing to pick up the phone or schedule some time and interview them and say, what do you value most in a bookkeeping firm or an accounting firm, CPA firm? What do you value most about our relationship? Hey, you know what? We've been doing business about 3 years. I love doing business with you. I so much appreciate it. But, I'd like to get some feedback because I'd like more customers like you. What is it that keeps you doing business with me? What do you like about our relationship? And list all of that out. Use that to refine your ideal client. And then other things that sometimes people overlook are if you determine that you've got a niche that you want to focus on, we'll go back to my concept of veterinarians or dentists or construction, whatever it may be. Don't forget about networking events. If you are focusing locally, then look at different conferences or trade shows or networking events that your ideal clients are at and attend, and that will give you more insight into them as well. It will also help you network with them and connect with them. And then there's the idea of targeted content, which we're going to talk a little bit more here on the next slide about. But once you've been able to really dial in who that ideal client is, this is where you're going to want to develop content and marketing campaigns that resonate with that client, not with everybody broadly, but with that client. Keeping in mind, as I mentioned earlier, that you should speak directly to their problems and their priorities. Remember that the minute you stop talking about or recognizing a pain point, you become noise. We see far too many brands in front of our eyeballs these days, as I had mentioned in the last webinar, anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 in a day. So you want to make sure and stay relevant. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you're talking about the pain points and showing how you solve those. Okay. Let's talk about, so as I mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation, there are 3 steps in identifying your ideal clients. We've talked about the first 2, which is why should I care? Why should I bother? Right? And then how do I do it? Now, this third step is, well, what do I do with the information once I've got all that defined? I've got my legal pad or I've got my Google Doc or my Word doc, whatever. What the heck do I do with it? This is what you do with it. This is where words matter. So now that you know who your perfect client is, or you may not know now, you may need to actually go back and work through this exercise. And I encourage you to do so and invest the time in it. It will pay off. You will then need to create messaging across your marketing channels that resonate. So based on what we've walked through today, you could fairly easily create a messaging playbook over there on the far left. And that can be used for all of your marketing collateral across the firm. I also strongly, well, and let me back up for 1 second. That messaging playbook, you could put everything we just walked through into one single document. And that all of those sound bites can then be used as marketing collateral across the firm. But then I also strongly urge you to look at your website. Your website is table stakes. That's very, very foundational part of your brand. And I urge you to pay very close attention, especially to these 3 areas: the homepage, the headline, and the calls to action or CTAs. If your homepage is too copy heavy, let's take another look at that. Homepage should be very copy light. Draw people into a story. Make sure that it's very clear, very concise, no elusive wording, nothing that every other firm out there could say. This needs to be very specific. Headline is so, so critical. It's the most important real estate on your page, actually. You should have a very clear, concise, compelling headline. And then also make sure that you've got a very clear call to action. And when I say call to action, that's not learn more. It would be whatever is the first step in the process that you invite someone into, that is your call to action. And you want that prominently displayed up in the top right-hand corner in a button, as well as multiple times down the page. Also sales presentations and marketing collateral. My advice to you here in terms of identifying your ideal clients is make sure that you're drawing them into a story in your sales presentations and throughout all of your marketing collateral that begins with what they want and what their problems and pain points are. I strongly recommend a book. If you haven't read it, I would tell you to go do it, read it over the holidays. It's a super quick, engaging read. It's not a geeky marketing book at all, but it's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. If you haven't heard of it, I think I completely buy into the methodology, and it will help you once you've identified your ideal client, really help you take that next step in crafting the messaging that resonates with that ideal client. All right. Just remember that your prospect doesn't care necessarily so much about things like, the things that you might care about, like how long I've been in business, what my expertise is. They want to know that you can solve their problem, and they want to know that you get them, that you understand them, and that you're going to be able to get them results and show them what their view of success is. All right. Man, 30 minutes goes fast. All right. One last slide. Okay. So I like to leave everybody with an action item. And here's what it is. So hopefully you're going to go back and look at this handout and rewatch this video and literally open up a Word document and walk through this whole thing. I strongly recommend that. I do that with every single firm that I work with. This is the first exercise we do. But if you're looking for a starting point, this would be it. So start with documenting your ideal avatar to build your message, and follow these 5 steps. Start with putting down, the outcomes. What do they want? What do they really want? Then think about their problems. What's their biggest fear? What's their number one problem? What's their second problem you hear most? What are all their pressing concerns? And what are the emotions attached to that? And then flip the script over to you and talk about, well, why do you get them? Why do you understand that? How can you empathize? And why is it that you're the expert to solve that problem? And then move into casting that vision for success. What does success look like for these clients? How can you help them get those results, and what does that look like for them? So this is where social proof comes in really handy too. Google reviews or testimonials, or other clients that have done business with you can help reinforce the fact that you've gotten results. And then, of course, you want to think about, what is that first step in your sales process in your firm that you want to call them to take? Oftentimes I see that that's book a consultation, or let's have a conversation, let's book a meeting. Those are the logical next steps. But another step, another call to action that you might consider would be creating some free resources that go on your website that can be downloaded, of course, in exchange for an email. So sometimes people need to get warmed up a little bit, and you need to build that trust with them. So they want to see some high value free content before they decide to take that next step and actually book a meeting with you. So that's another type of call to action. And then finally, if you have questions, I am available anytime. You can email me directly at Janel, Janel, at Cajabra.com. I've also got a free resource out on my website. You're more than welcome to download it. It's a 7 simple steps playbook for marketing. And if you need some help with a customized messaging playbook built for you, let me know. Or if you just have questions and want some clarity around anything that I covered today, you can book an appointment with me directly on my website as well. I'm more than happy to help and support you in any way that I can as you go into 2024 and make next year unforgettable. So I'm going to take a pause and see if you have any other questions. Any questions? Let's see here. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much for your time, for your attention, and I hope you all are able to attend the conference on December 5th and 6th. Thanks, Cheska.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And thank you so much, Janelle. Thanks for sharing all of that with all of us. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good day. And I hope to see you again next time for the next session.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye.
Bye.